Hey guys, Will or Lolio here, and there's been a lot of news this week, so let's get into it. Probably the biggest piece of news overall is that the Warforged Nightmare is now available for $30 on the Blizzard store. Now this mount was initially teased about a couple months ago on Twitter, and it was thought to be the recruiter friend mount by many, mainly due to how Blizzard said that fiery mechanical war steeds are more fun with friends, which leads to the assumption that it would be a recruiter friend mount, but it appears that that is not the case. Now when I first saw it, my first thought was, hey, that resembles the iron hitching post from about a year ago. So when they first announced the transmog helms, they showed off a couple of other items that were going to be coming to the store, and one of those was the iron hitching post. And it definitely appears that it is that mount, but they modified it a little bit, right? The color's been changed, maybe some model variations, but overall it's basically the same thing, it just got turned into a permanent mount. So the first thing people are going to notice about the Warforged Nightmare is that it costs more than other mounts, but it does kind of justify the price by coming with a unique item, the hitching post. Now you can place this, and part of your raid members can turn their mounts into that mount temporarily. I don't really have an opinion on whether or not this mount is worth it or if it's a rip-off or anything like that. I don't really care, but what I noticed is that Blizzard is definitely adding a lot more items to the store lately. I made a video on this a couple weeks ago about how the store is becoming more and more prolific. Basically, they're adding more things faster than they ever have before. Now, I understand they have to make money, but considering we've gotten 3, probably soon to be 4 store mounts if you want to include the Ravager, in the period of time that we've gotten no content, that's kind of annoying to me. I mean, that's 9 months of no content and 3 to 4 store mounts. Now we're likely to continue this content drought until, 12 to 15 months, it appears. And to me personally, that's kind of, well, unacceptable. But now I'm not going to quit the game over it, and probably that's one of the reasons why they'll continue this, is because most people won't quit the game over it. But it just feels a little bit annoying to me that they would add a bunch of store items and store mounts during this period of time when we're getting no new content. I get that these mounts, at least the Chimera and the Iron Hitching Post and the Ravager, are either items they kind of already had made in the case of the Hitching Post, or they're items that are just modifications of Draenor creatures, right? So they're just taking a model that they already had made for the expansion and putting it on the store now, I guess kind of in preparation to get people excited and to make money. So they're not taking away a lot of art resources from the expansion, but it just feels a little bit disrespectful to the player base to me personally. In other news, something that was data mined from the alpha is that new scenario objectives have been introduced to dungeons to provide guidance to older dungeons mainly. Now these are a substitute for dungeon quests. They're going to replace all the old dungeon quests with these. And the primary function of these, the reason why they're doing that, is because these are repeatable. So I guess the goal here is to make leveling through dungeons smoother, right? Because a lot of people have the experience where they queue for a dungeon, and let's say it's the only dungeon in that level range. They get it once, they do the quests, and they get a decent amount of experience. But then they queue again, and they get the same dungeon, and they're going to get a lot less experience, because the dungeon quests give a ton of experience compared to regular quests, and compared to basically anything around that level. So if these objectives were repeatable, it would make leveling a lot more smooth through those various times when, let's say, you can only get one dungeon in the queue. It also allows them to reward optional bosses in dungeons, and because non-linearity seems to be a big feature of the raid and dungeon design in Warlords, I think it makes sense to try and reward that if possible. Some more tier sets have been data mined, as well as more set bonuses. Now unfortunately, all the set bonuses we have right now are placeholders and are very uncreative and uninteresting. Many of them are like 10% boost to certain abilities. Now luckily, these aren't final at all. Celestalon and Watcher have tweeted that, yeah, these are very much not final, they're just placeholders while we think of more creative ones, and that's definitely good to hear. So one of the things people have requested for a long time is the ability to queue for older LFRs. A lot of people like the various recolorations of the tier sets and the weapons in Dragon Soul LFR, as well as in the earlier Pandaria LFRs like Mogushan Vaults. And people were wondering if we could see the ability to queue for those when Warlords comes out. And it appears that that is in the cards. So in the alpha, you can queue for these by visiting certain NPCs. For the Pandaria LFRs as well as scenarios, just go to the Seat of Knowledge and you'll be able to queue by talking to certain NPCs and saying, hey, I want to go see the Guardians of Mogushan LFR sort of deal. For Dragon Soul, you'll just have to venture out to the Caverns of Time, and there's an NPC out there, right by the portal, that'll allow you to queue for it. So this is a pretty minor feature overall. I don't think a lot of people care, but it's nice to see nonetheless. I think that transmog has become a very important part of WoW, and a lot of people just really like the various colorations of certain items, and it was kind of a shame that you weren't able to get them anymore. So I think it's nice that they allow the ability to do this for people who are really interested. The Black Market Auction House is moving shop. It's shutting down in Pandaria, but it will move to a new location, likely Draenor. Now that makes sense, right? Easy access, It would have been a hassle if it was still on Pandaria, so it's nice that you'll be able to get to it on Draenor. It might have added the appeal, I guess, to only have it on Pandaria, like, if it would feel more exclusive and people who really wanted the items there would make the trek, but overall, I think that immersion factor is outweighed by the convenience factor. I think people just want to be able to get to it easier. A new feat of strength and title for warlocks who complete the Green Fire quest at level 90, presumably before Draenor releases, is going to be added. So the title is Of the Black Harvest, and while it is account-wide, it's only usable by warlocks. So this seems pretty interesting to me. The Green Fire quest was actually very difficult initially, and since it's not being changed for Draenor, like they're not going to scale it down like Proving Grounds or Challenge modes, I think it's pretty cool that they're going to be able to reward the guys who do it while it's at least somewhat relevant. Although right now it is pretty easily outgeared. But I remember back in 5.2, the guys who were doing it, a lot of them found it very difficult at first. I remember people would even pay others to get on their account to do it for them, because it was pretty hard. And finally, Shadowmoon Valley will be available in the next alpha build. A lot of Alliance players were complaining that Horde and Frostfire Ridge were the only things available, so in this next build, Horde and Frostfire will be disabled, and Shadowmoon and Alliance will be the things that are being tested. It's nice to see that the Alliance side isn't too far behind, and they were just kind of waiting to unleash that part. In addition, we'll be seeing more alpha invites going out, but Blizzard has previously stated that in general, this alpha and beta cycle is going to be a lot more limited than previous ones, especially Pandaria, because with Pandaria, they had to get a lot of people in due to the annual pass thing, and that really didn't help the testing overall. Anyway, that's all the news I have for now. If you enjoyed the video or found it informative, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.